Good morning. Thank you so much for staying tuned to the break on this 12th day of April 2022. It's about 100 and, let me just get that right, 120?
18.
28?
No, 18. 118.
No, 118.
118.
118 days to the general election. Let me just get that clearly because it's a yes. 119 days to the election. 3 months, 28 days. And of course, so much is going on. The most important is that currently the political parties are going through party primaries. We've seen some concerns in different political parties, and of course we'll be touching on some of them. But I want to quickly introduce the panels that we have in studio. We have here, I think for the first time on this panel, Advice Mundalo, who is the National Youth Chair of the Jubilee Party. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam. Thank you for having me.
How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
Okay, great. Yeah. Great to see you.
Good
David Ole Sankok is a nominated member of parliament from the Jubilee Party, isn't it?
Yes, my former party.
Still is current.
Are you going for any seat this time?
Good morning, Sam.
Good morning.
Yes, Jubilee was my former party. In fact, when I was coming,
yes,
I admired the billboards of my former party leader, that is Uhuru Kenyatta. I don't know which seat he's contesting for.
Which bill? What did
because I've seen his billboards are more than that one of Raila. Those one of Raila. The billboards
what is the
are
billboard saying?
No, I've not. You know, I was driving. You met me driving.
Yes.
So I just had I counted around 10 billboards in this capital city. So I don't know, big billboards. I don't know which.
You didn't see the dishes, but you're able to count 10.
Yes, but I don't know which city is.
No, he's not going for any seat. I can.
But my friend here.
Are you going for any seat yourself?
Is,
no, leave him alone. Are you going for any?
You'll tell us. Not now, because my work is very simple. I'm a man on a mission to make sure that William Ruto is in State House. Once he's safely in State House, then I can go and look after my cows.
I hear you. Fred Okango is the Secretary of Political Affairs within KANU. Good morning.
Good morning, Sam.
Yeah, yourself, are you going for any seat?
No, I'm not.
Oh, you're not?
But Advice should advise nominee 001 that the certificate that he was issued with the nomination is for Jubilee. So nominee 001 should know that.
Yeah, but anyway.
So advise him.
I will advise him accordingly.
Yeah, but you
everything he enjoys today is courtesy of Jubilee Party.
Yeah, but your advice should also be cross-cutting. You'll also advise my party leader that the Jubilee that gave him the certificate was a Jubilee of two hands, not of a small bird.
Wow, don't open that can of worms because more can be said about so many other leaders. But let's quickly take a look at the main stories on the papers. Kalonzo rocks Raila coalition. ODM chief finds himself in a tight spot over rising demands. Wiper chief Kalonzo Musyoka has thrown another tantrum. They're calling it a tantrum, presenting a new headache for ODM leader Raila Odinga. In a letter to the Registrar of Political Parties, the former VP's party is protesting over the Azimio coalition agreement submitted on April 9. And I just read the details to you of what that letter contains. Then holding oil marketers under probe. And of course, we're expecting that on the 14th of April, there will be a review of the petroleum prices. There are indications that that could go higher than that. Then KCP stars land schools of choice amid Form 1 selection protest. Of course, the Cabinet Secretary in charge of education was releasing those results yesterday, talking about 1.2 million candidates who were able to be assigned different schools. Then on the front page of the Standard, you'll see from one big rush, very related to what I just spoke about, a big rush for national schools, a joy for KCP top performers, as 38,000 join national schools, but not all will be happy with the choices Education Ministry has made for them. And then MP's case put off to allow campaigns. Chief Magistrate Martha Mutuku suspends a 19 million graft case against Malindi MP until August to give her time to seek votes. Quite interesting development there happening in that area. And I want us to focus on the party primaries because this is a very important week for different political parties, and we just saw that yesterday Paul Otoma won that governorship ticket for the ODM party in Busia County. And of course, he was facing competition from Florence Mutua, who is the Umban representative for Busia. He got 49,000 against 30,000 of Mutua, and now he becomes one of the candidates for that seat come August. But as some other political parties are hoping to do that, especially I think UDA is doing that on Thursday? Right?
Thursday, yes.
Yes, but I want to ask us to listen to some of the concerns that have been raised by some aspirants and supporters in Mombasa and Homa Bay counties. Listen.
What we want ni watu wetu wapewe nafasi wapige kura. Ikiwa wewe unajihisi wewe you are up in the polls, unaogopa kitu gani? What is the difference between you ambaye wewe wataka governor ama wewe wataka senator na yule ambaye anataka MCA? Yeye ni kiongozi na wewe ni kiongozi na mimi ni kiongozi.
We do not believe that nominations should be done by selection in boardrooms based on opinion polls that nobody can verify or validate. Let the people decide.
Kama hichi chama hakitachukua hatua, I'm telling you, we aspirants, we are going to sit down and we are going to make a decision.
Kama mgombea mmoja tu katika sote, yeye ndo anapiga kifua, anapiga ubabe, anasema ni mimi liwe liwalo, litoke huku liende huku, hamtafanya lolote kwa sababu chama ni chetu. Nasema hivi basi, tumependa chama lakini mahali imefika patanuka.
Sisi hatutaki maneno ya ODM sasa. Tumechoka na hiyo maneno ya free ticket. Raila tuko na kura yako ni sawa, lakini ya governor utuachie, tuchague mtu mwenye atusaidia kufanya kazi.
Lazima chama itoke Nairobi ije hapa ufanye uamuzi kwa niaba ya watu wa Homa Bay mzima. Watu wamehuzunika. Tunahitaji kiongozi. Kiongozi mwenye ako na maono, mwenye ako na sera.
Kiongozi mwenye maono, mwenye sera. Those are the concerns of some of the aspirants and supporters in Homa Bay and Mombasa County. But Deputy President William Ruto for UDA spoke about this and the different modes of nomination. Listen.
The party constitution and the nomination rules provide that consensus is an option of arriving at candidates. And that is what has happened this morning with these two, and it has happened also with many others. The other alternative pathway is also through agreement when opinion polls and other instruments have been carried out objectively to identify the extent of support of every candidate. I also want to thank many candidates who have submitted themselves to these alternative methods of arriving at candidates. And of course, the huge important process of nominations that will be carried out on the 14th is the ultimate process of identifying candidates by allowing our members across the country to vote for candidates of their choice in a democratic, free and fair manner.
All right, so that's the Deputy President. Of course, all these political parties have been talking about there's an option of consensus building, there's an option of carrying out scientific polls or research or survey to find out who is more popular. But also there's a chance that if they do not agree, then they can go for universal suffrage, where all the members of a political party in a certain region will vote for their preferred candidate. But let me begin with you, Honorable Sankok, because the nominations for UDA are slated for Thursday. Would you know how many areas will be affected, knowing that we have seen some of the attempts to build consensus, like what we saw in Nairobi for the governorship seat and the senatorial seat, then what we saw in Kiambu, especially for the senatorial seat?
Sam, thank you first of all for hosting me here, and congratulations to all the people who have been selected to different secondary schools. Wish you all the best. Those who did very well, those who did not meet the expectation, it is not the end of the road. Remember, not all mathematics professors will have more money than those who did not do mathematics. So, Sam, UDA is a national political party with a national outlook. Mm-hmm. We have prepared properly. In fact, ours will be even better than the general election. We don't expect any problem. We'll have party primaries. We have even international observers. Our party leader is a very energetic man who have been in the office, is hands-on. So we are sure that we'll experience very little problems during Thursday nomination process. And the only thing that we may fear, because in any process there must be some loopholes, is infringement from our competitors who we know are very good in terms of violence, so they may extend or export their violent nature into our party primaries. Of course, you know, there is a party like ODM which is very known for a career in violence. It is known. So
wait a minute. Look, on this panel, there's no ODM representative.
I know.
But when you say that they're going to bring violence to your party primaries, how exactly? I thought your primaries are just the members of the party and the candidates.
Exactly. But you know, we are not in a highland. It will be carried out in polling stations that are open up to a general public, so they may decide, because they know UD is very strong, to interfere so that they can brand UDA as also a violent.
Is this based on suspicion, or we have intel to support it?
You know, some we know from experience, and we know from
suspicion or intel.
We just suspect, but we have taken everything under control.
Okay.
We have made sure that we have.
If it's about suspicion, I will persuade you to leave it out. Let's just focus on how well prepared the party is. So
no, the party is well prepared.
Will it be electronic or it's manual sort of voting?
The party is well prepared. Of course, where there is coverage of network and other things, it will be electronic. But also, we may merge the two, where then we need to do the manual.
Okay. Fred, what mode will KANU use to go through this process of picking candidates for the general election?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, as KANU, we do have a very good national elections board. And we have nomination rules that were received by Register of Political Parties and IEBC. Now, in our nomination rules, there are 4 ways of identifying candidates. In fact, as far as we're concerned as a party, we have been conducting interviews. But the best way that we have been approaching this is through consensus. We have identified several candidates through consensus. In the event that consensus fails, then we subject them through polls or interviews or research. And even in the event that that fails, we shall take them through a free, fair, and democratic nomination process on 15th to 18th. We have very few cases that we shall be proceeding with to nomination, which we believe will be democratic. Number 3, Sam, I have listened to what my good friend Honorable Sankok is saying. This election, it has a lot of interest. And if you subject your candidates through that process only in a day, then there are risks of divisions. For us in KANU, as a party that is guided by philosophy, peace, love, and unity, we believe that when we started this process of consensus way before, we have achieved much. And I want to congratulate our aspirants who have agreed to go through the consensus. I want to congratulate those who have agreed to go through the polls and interviews. And I also want to wish the best of luck to all our aspirants who will be undertaking a free, fair, and democratic process between 15th and 18th. Because we believe that by that, we shall be starting the process of election. Because even nominations is the start of the election. If it is free and fair, then it gives credence and it gives, hope and that feeling that it will be okay to our aspirants. So for us, we have very isolated cases, some that we shall be taking through nomination. As we are standing here now, as we are sitting here now, we have majority of our aspirants who have been issued with the clearance certificate, not nomination certificate, just clearance, to show that they have complied with all the requirements, to show that they are fit to run those positions, because there's also issue of integrity that we are checking as a party. I'm not sure if UD is checking that, but for us, we are very, very categorical.
So after clearance, what processes do they go through?
After clearance,
nomination certificate.
After clearance, if there are instances where there are more than 2, then now we shall now start again, which is also ongoing, by the way, the process of identifying who is best among the two, or between the two. So that process can culminate in a nomination or can culminate again into a consensus.
Okay, so if it is looking at who is best and you're not going to the universal suffrage, so what are you using to measure?
As I've said, we have 4 ways of identifying that or measure that. Number one, the consensus, you invite the candidates to come to a table and tell them that it is in the interest of the party and their own interest to get one competitor who will compete with the rest. If that fails, then we subject them through an independent poll or interviews that will identify one of them as the best suitable to run on the KANU party ticket. If that fails, then we now go to the nomination process. Okay. That is what is provided in the KANU National Nomination Rules, Article 14, Sub-Article 1.
So if you talk about interviews, independent polls, so who is doing these independent polls?
We commission an independent poll, independent research firm. We commission that.
With no influence from the party?
We have not gone there yet. If need be, we shall go there. Okay. So the cases we have handled, we have not gone there.
Interviews?
But we do...
Any interviews?
Interviews we have conducted. We have conducted interviews.
So how do you do that?
The interviews...
What are you looking at?
We're looking at the suitability of a candidate. We look at how they communicate. We look at the agenda that they have. We look at their values and principles. Do they align with the party? We look at what their, their general knowledge on election systems. Do they know about the voter registration? Do they know about party rules? Do they know about electoral laws? Do they know what their, constituents need? Do they understand why it is important to compete in a free, fair, and a campaign that is free from violence? Do they know that? Those are the issues we look at, because we want candidates that are really suitable. We don't want candidates that will be subjected to another intimidation and then they start causing violence and chaos. We don't want that. As a party that is having a philosophy...
You've been able to tell apart...
We have been able to see. And by the way, most of those candidates who come to us, or aspirants from the party, themselves, they would want consensus. They believe that it is time for KANU to win these seats. KANU is back. And if KANU is back, then we must go for an election undivided. We must go for an election that puts us together, an election that only produces one candidate who is going to compete with Sankok's team and those other people.
Okay. Would you know in how many areas you're fielding candidates for parliamentary seat?
We are fielding in 89.
89
areas.
Constituencies.
Yes.
Governorship?
Governorship, we are fielding, I think, in 9.
9. Senatorial, would you know?
Senatorial, equally 9.
Okay, all right. Interesting. Advice.
Yes.
Why are you calling me? Advice. So what's going on within Jubilee Party? We've seen recently of people who had moved out of the party, like Governor Leki Nyanjui going to form Ubuntu Party, People's Party, now coming back to the Jubilee Party. What are the processes you're going through in identifying these candidates, and are we likely to have nominations to the extent that we saw in 2017?
Thank you, Sam. First of all, thank you for having me on Citizen TV. One, I would want to start by the comment you make about very many people coming back into the Jubilee Party. It's testament because right now, Jubilee Party, the rebranded Jubilee Party. I didn't
say very many, I said some.
You said some. Some and very many is not very different. But then as it stands now, in the Republic of Kenya, I think the party that is most likable today is the Jubilee Party. And that's why you've been able to see, you can measure that by seeing the number of people who are trooping back into the party. You've just made mention of it yourself. You're not seeing such happening with many other parties. And that's why today Jubilee is the most likable party today, because of its fairness, because of the process that every person undergoes in Jubilee. People are assured of their democracy. So when you look at it right now, we have an array of candidates, of aspirants, and all our aspirants under Jubilee Party are qualified to become candidates. And that's why we are not grappling with issues of having to certify somebody who will then not go through the IEBC. All our aspirants are certified, and as it stands now, we are now heading into the nomination process. Consensus building is a priority that we are using, but also the vote by the ballot is also not being wished away. Where our candidates are more than 2 and we cannot be able to have consensus, we are going to be able to take them to the ballot. And our consensus building is a very fair process. We have seen parties that have boxed dictatorship in the name of consensus building, where you see them coming out to declare someone as their candidate, but the people standing behind the party leader, when you look at their facial expressions and their nonverbal cues, they are very sad people, meaning maybe these people have just been boxed into some decision.
How do you
at Jubilee,
do you mind being specific?
Yes, when you look at the consensus building in UDA, and you look at the people who stand behind the party leader when they are making those decisions, some just look at the facial expressions of those people behind the deputy president. They are very sad people. They look like people who have been forced into a decision. And that is not how we are doing things at Jubilee. Our consensus building is very credible. It is involving all the aspirants. It is not just about the party choosing. It's also about, first of all, the first step is if the aspirants by themselves can come up with a decision to support one another. The second stage is now the party also taking position and just leading the process. So it's not just about identifying one person and forcing everyone else that you must be able to support this.
So will you? But also, in how many areas will you have these universal suffrage primaries?
Across the country. We have candidates across the country.
When are the nominations again?
Our nominations are starting today, all the way to 19th.
Oh, okay.
All the way to 19th, and we have candidates across the country because we are a big party, so we have our candidates everywhere. We are not
you don't have a specific places. Number.
No.
Fred was very specific.
We have our candidates everywhere. We don't have just specific.
The reason I'm asking this is because Jubilee Party is also within the Azimio movement.
Yes.
And there was talk about consensus building and zoning and everything within that movement. So would you know with certainty eventually how many areas will have Jubilee candidates on August 9?
That is a conversation that will be gotten to at the larger Azimio level. But as it stands now at party level, as a party today, we have candidates across the country. We are not advising our candidates that we are zoning any places because Jubilee has a support base across the country. So we are not advising on that. But of course, it's not something we are wishing away, just in case, because again, we are looking at winning the majority of the seats. So in places where we feel like coming together would be able to be helpful, we'll do that. But as it stands now for the party primaries, we have candidates across the country, and we don't want to advise our aspirants to chicken away from any part of the country. But I would also,
yes. You spoke about something, and I just want us to verify if what you're saying is true. Let's listen to some conversation that was going on at a meeting of a deputy president with the aspirants in Nairobi.
That we will now hit the ground running from tomorrow because we now have a team that will spearhead the Kenya Kwanza UDA campaign in Nairobi City County.
I want to most sincerely and from the bottom of my heart thank Bishop Margaret Wanjiru because I know it has not been an easy decision, but for her grace. And I want to assure her and to assure your supporters that from now on we are one team.
Coalitions come with several challenges. And one of those challenges is that there must be give and take in certain positions. And that is exactly what has happened here. There's been a lot of give and take. It is still going on. Other people will still give and take. And I just want to say thank you for those who have given for me to take.
You can imagine it was not easy at all to sit ground. But our party leader made sure that we are all in agreement, and he made us to see the bigger picture so that we can deliver the presidency.
Do they look like sad faces to you?
Some, I'm sure you can also tell. You can see, you can even tell that Karen Nyamu is losing speech. She cannot be able to even speak coherently because these are decisions you feel these people have been boxed in those decisions. Look at how they look behind there. Those guys don't look happy, and that's why Sam, you can be able to see Honorable Sankok knows that their nomination is on Thursday, but he's already apologizing for the mayhem he's expecting because nobody has told them that there will be mayhem. But already, as it stands now, he's already being apologetic about what might happen and saying that somebody might infiltrate their nomination. That is basically because he is aware of the nature their current nature. Their current nature has been about stoning the plane, and that is their current nature. That's why
how
he's
sure are
apologizing
you
so early about the nomination.
I'll stop with the advice because that's a matter that is under investigation. And secondly, when you saw those members or those people that were hurling stones, are they members of UDA?
We saw UDA apologize for this. If they were not members of UDA, I don't expect any person from UDA to apologize on their behalf.
Anyway, we were talking about party primaries here, and I'll shortly be bringing you a clip of what's happening within the Azimio la Umoja movement when it comes to the contests in Nairobi as soon as we are ready. But Honorable Sankok,
yes.
So when you're going into this give and take, these negotiations, like what happened in Nairobi, of course, your house now has all these other political parties. What are those considerations that you're putting in place in deciding that Sakaja goes for Nairobi governor's seat, Margaret Wanjiru goes for the senatorial seat?
Sam, the Political Parties Act is very clear that we have several options, one of them being consensus building, the other one being interviews, the other one, of course, is the vote on the ballot during primaries. And I don't want to go back to what advice is saying, you know.
Then don't. Just carry on.
You have developed a truthometer, yes, where he can read minds. It's as if you have spiritual eyes to know who is happy, who is not happy. You know, at least ours is actually open. Because after the consensus building, our members don't disappear, because they have not been boxed. They come out to a press conference and inform the general public, because this one is the sovereign power of the people that will be handed over to the elected leaders. And that is why they have to come out, all of them, those who have agreed to step down and those who have been given that, that opportunity to be our flag bearers. That is why they have to come out.
You don't know because it looks like a mediated sort of a consensus.
Yes, a consensus.
So you don't know what the considerations were?
No, the considerations are very, very simple. That is that we also have scientific opinion polls. We sit down and talk with each other and say who have a better chance. Who do you want to complement who in terms of running, let's say, Narok County? How do we then have the best candidate among them? Because I was there when we were building the consensus, and when we came out, all the candidates who are four had agreed to support one of them. And this is what will happen so that we can form the government. And I'm telling you, for us...
and do those concessions also talk about the running mate slot? Governors, for instance?
Not for now, because you know we have to, first of all, have the flag bearer, and then the running mate slot will be left for us to discuss and to decide who will complement. Because you have your weaknesses, you have your strength, we know each other, so we can say, okay, because these are your strengths, these are your weaknesses, this is the person who can complement you. But
so it will be a decision of the team, not the individual?
Yeah, the decision of the team. Even the running mate of William Ruto will be a decision of the team. It's not, it's not about friendship. And again, Sam, before I leave the stage, it's also good sometimes when you bring political parties of the same wavelength. You know, I will feel very comfortable discussing with ODM. But when you bring some village parties like my former Jubilee party, which the party leader, the Secretary General, and the Vice Chairman come from the same village and the same tribe, and also when you talk about Kanu, where the party leader and the Secretary General come from the same tribe and walking distance from each other.
So, even as you say that,
sometimes,
just hold on.
If it is a political party, I discuss with political parties of the same strength with UDA.
I respect the freedom of expression, but the party leader, Uhuru Kenyatta, comes from Gatundu South. The Vice Chair comes from Gatanga constituency.
Yes.
The Secretary General comes from Daragwa.
Yes.
Those are not. That's
which tribe? Which tribe?
I'm saying that's not the same village.
Of course, you know. It is a walking distance from each other.
Let's listen to some voices from
Kioni Murade,
the aspirant
Uhuru Kenyatta
within Azimio movement.
Vijana, kazi basi tutawatafutia, na kila kijana kwa kila ward katika hii Nairobi, lazima tukiwa kwa county tuwapatie machines 10 ambaye zitatengeneza kabro. Mukitengeneza hizo kabro, sisi tukiwa kwa county tunazinunua, alafu tunajenga mabarabara naye.
Mimi nasema chama ya Wiper, sisi tunasimama na Bwana Ngatia, ndio sababu tuko hapa. Tusimame na wewe ili uwe the next incoming governor Nairobi County.
Witnessing here today is a clear and sure vote of confidence that our journey to City Hall is non-stop and we are not looking back.
Okay, so Fred, this is an interesting question because it's about Azimio, and we'll be talking about Azimio, state of Azimio in the next few minutes. But so how will the movement pick their candidate for governorship, especially in Nairobi? Because you see Richard Ngatia there appears to be walking the journey with Philip Kaloki as a possible running mate. You have Tim Wanyonyi on this other side for ODM, says that this journey is unstoppable. So what will have to give if you're to have one ticket?
Before I answer that, Sam, allow me to respond very briefly on something that Sankok has said, which we cannot allow to go. Sankok has a very sharp tongue, and I want to advise Sankok, me together with advice here, that sharp tongue, you must tame it, because you cannot refer to Kenya African National Union, led by Senator Gilmoy, as a village party. That is the Independence Party, and that is the party that you are wearing its colors today. So Sankok, be advised. Number two,
these are the colors of the flag.
If you look at the Nairobi contest, it is true it has attracted majority of the Azimio constituent parties. In fact, even KANU is fielding a senatorial candidate. In the name of Jontes, we are fielding a very young man who is capable and suitable. So, in the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition political party coalition agreement, there are provisions that provide that in fielding candidates in such situations, then we shall do it in a manner that do not jeopardize the chances of the coalition winning that ticket, or jeopardize the chances of the coalition winning the presidential vote. So we are aware about that. But what is of importance today, the political party, the constituent political parties must put the house in order. We are going into nomination. After this nomination, political parties in Azimio la Umoja One Kenya will produce their very best. Their very best, at some point, there must be a discussion around certain areas. As you can see, it is a hotly contested seat. Jubilee are producing, they're fronting, they have their candidate in the name of Ngatia. ODM, they have got their candidate in the name of Tim Wanyonyi, and many others. Wiper are teaming up with Ngatia. Already you are seeing where that is going, Ngatia, to secure that seat. KANU is producing a senatorial candidate. Maybe, just maybe, that could be the lineup. I'm not sure. But I can tell you that what we are not going to do as Azimio la Umoja One Kenya is to allow the other opponents, the competitors in Kenya Kwanza, to defeat us because of our lack of consensus. We cannot allow that. We are aware about this. We know for sure that this seat, we shall win it. And our strategy is very simple. We allow our constituent parties to finish their nominations, then we arrive at candidates that are suitable and capable, that are going to compete. And in fact, we know now who is KK producing. So they will wait for who is Azimio One Kenya producing, and that will be the ticket that will win Nairobi.
So
we know
KK
for sure that
Kenya Kwanza?
Yes, Kenya Kwanza.
Okay, all right. I want us to take a short break. When we come back, we'll talk about the coalitions of interest, or the interest of different coalitions, including some developments that came from One Kenya, or rather Azimio One Kenya movement last evening. Stay tuned.